Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So today I got a fun and exciting video for you guys today because I'm taking another look at the Mystical Ninja Starring Goemon recompilation. That is because as of a few days ago, at least when I record this, not sure when I'm going to air it, it has received a new update making it more stable and an even better experience. And it's been maybe some months now since I've talked about this recomp, but personally, this might be one of my favorites of all time, right up there with Banjo Kazooie. That is because Mystical Ninja Starring Goemon is absolutely one of my favorite N64 games, and even though playing the original is fun at this point in time, getting this on PC in widescreen with all of the different quality of life improvements and a faster frame rate just makes for such a better experience. And I really do feel like these recomps and PC ports bring new people to actually playing these games as well that never experienced them back in the day. And Goemon getting a new update, absolutely spectacular, especially right around the same time that we're getting that Konami collection on Switch. Although it seems like that is a Japanese exclusive, so I'm going to start having to import that because I absolutely want it on my shelf. Before I get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out, and if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But getting back into Mystical Ninja Starring Goemon, there's been a lot of nice improvements on this update, and I would say the main one is, before when this game would want to slow down on the N64 version, people in the comments were reporting some crashing and freezing of the actual game. Now that has been 100% fixed up, and I've had no issues with it whatsoever. So it's one of those things, don't think just because a game gets recomped reported to PC, that's the last you're ever going to hear of it, because 1.0 versus where we are now really feel like two independently different games. Now the nice thing is you can go ahead and grab the update from GitHub. I will leave a link in the description below, and your save game will port all the way over automatically because the saves are held in a folder, and every new version of this game will look for it there. So if you're halfway through and you want to upgrade, you don't have to worry about anything. Just go ahead and download it, launch the game, and your save will be sitting there in the start menu like it was on a real N64 cart. So big credit to the developers for making sure updating this is easy, because there's nothing worse than upgrading to a new version of a recomp or PC port or anything else and finding out that the save you had is no longer compatible with that version of the game. And as we get into this, I would say the overall performance here feels a little bit smoother as well. On the first version of the recomp, I mentioned that every once in a while there might be a hitch or two in the frame right here, and I did not experience that whatsoever in this new version. And that is amazing because, again, it's so nice to see these support upgrades and releases from the developers. And if I could recommend one mod, I will leave it in the description below that I mentioned maybe like 3-4 months ago. You can actually restore all the original Japanese voice acting for cutscenes, and that honestly is so much better of a vibe because it kind of mixes that Japanese aesthetic along with the North American version of the game we got, because for some reason Konami cut that out completely when they brought this game over to the N64. And that really leads me to wanting stuff like Castlevania 64 and Legacy of Darkness as recomps or PC ports as well, because I would say of all the Konami games on N64, Hybrid Heaven as well as Goemon definitely take the top 2 spots, at least for me. Now don't get me wrong, I love Legacy of Darkness, but it is a game that can be a little bit frustratingly slow to play on real hardware, and even via emulation sometimes has a little bit too much jank for everyone to enjoy it. But something like Goemon just absolutely shows that Konami knew what they were doing when it came to a 3D game, and as far as an action platformer with light RPG elements, this thing is just straight up a 10 out of 10 in my opinion. And now with an updated recomp, it's just going to be better than it ever was before, and that's going to make basically everyone happy. Because I would say of all the recomps and PC ports I've talked about on the channel, the most excitement people have had that are that hardcore fan base has been for Mystical Ninja Starring Goemon. Now don't get me wrong, every single recomp and PC port has been received, lovingly so, but this one just has that fan base out there that doesn't really feel like they ever get anything, so getting this and getting it updated is just straight up magic on the N64 side. But let's go into our first of 2 soundtrack samples because the music in this game is straight up amazing, and it sounds even better here in the recomp than it ever did. And I'll be right back with just a little bit more. Now, I would say, as far as the textures are concerned here in Goemon, I actually don't think that they need any sort of texture pack. They are colorful enough and they're cartoonish enough that I think just getting them scaled here in high resolution works. Leave me a comment down below and you tell me, texture pack for Goemon, something you would like or something you don't really need. This is just the type of game, it has that bright, colorful aesthetic to it, which I think ages super well, even on a recomp, where you still have the original assets, you just have them in what would amount to be a clear looking picture. Have you ever wondered, you can absolutely just cheese this boss right here. When he actually shoots his fire out, if you walk all the way against that laser gun and just start unloading on them, the fire will actually go over Goemon's head and it won't damage you. And I remember just so fondly playing this game back in the day and figuring out stuff like that and just having so much fun with it. And honestly, of all the recomps and PC ports that I've released, this one is still the one that just put the biggest smile on my face, and I played it from start to finish basically within 24 hours of it coming out. And that's just because this is a game that I want way more people to know about and way more people to check out. Because when you see lists of best N64 games of all time, unfortunately Mystical Ninja Starring Goemon just doesn't really appear on that many of them, and that absolutely is something that I think should be rectified. But the best part about any recomp or PC port is getting a higher frame rate, and absolutely, this game excels at the speed that it runs compared to the N64 original. But as far as N64 games are concerned, it also ran at a relatively decent speed that didn't fight you all that much. If you are wondering, as far as the other changes in this update, you now have independent sliders for all of the different music and sound effect volumes. So if you want to hear more of the music and less of the sound effects, you can dial that in, or if you want to do the opposite of that, you also have the option. And that really is the fun thing about projects like this, and they give the player ultimate control to decide how they want to interact with the game, what they want it to be like, and what they don't want it to be like. But there's just something about these rudimentary N64 models here with all of the chunky polygons that just absolutely excels. And like I said, there's just something about the lighting model here and the overall aesthetic of Mystical Ninja Starring Goemon where I think it just looks like the prettiest and best looking recomp we currently have. Now, don't think that's a knock about everybody else's work. It is down to the original art style the developers that made the games chose, and I still think that this game has aged maybe top 5 N64 games of all time as far as the visuals are concerned. The world building and the vibe of Mystical Ninja Starring Goemon are impeccable, and they look that much better on PC. And if you do have one, even though this isn't HDR, play it on something like an OLED, the colors are absolutely stunning. Although I will say, completely joking, if OSHA existed back in the day when Goemon actually lived in this village, they would be suing the ever-living hell out of people because I don't know how they expect anybody who lives here to be able to traverse the town. I know that's just a kind of random joke, but it's always something I thought about in the game. Sometimes back in the day, they would just make levels in areas where people were supposed to move, but it just was an impossibility to actually get around. And as we kind of move into a more open world area again, this game is just so much fun and it looks so good in this recomp. We're going to go to soundtrack sample 2 time though, because I love the soundtrack in this game and it sounds even better here. And I'll be right back. Now, if there's one thing I think would be fun to have come to this recomp, even though on a technical perspective I'm not sure if it would be possible, is increasing the draw distance, because we recently saw that on the Banjo Kazooie recomp, a couple different mods that allow you to basically draw into infinity and not really have pop-up, but I wouldn't take the fog away as much, just because I actually feel like that's kind of the overall vibe of the game. But again, that is really a subjective thing, whether or not you want a bigger draw distance or not, or whether you want that original aesthetic just in a higher resolution on your PC with a new aspect ratio and a much higher frame rate. But that's the fun thing. Developers and fans out there can make mods for this to their heart's content and basically make whatever experience they want. But as far as all of these projects are concerned, this one made me the happiest just because I remember getting this game, I think maybe for my birthday as a kid, and absolutely falling in love with it, and I still think it is probably one of the best Goemon games ever made. Although don't forget there is another Goemon game on N64, and I would love to see that get a recomp or PC port as well. But if you want to update to the newest version, the link is in the description below for the GitHub. And if you want that Japanese voice language mod, that link is there as well. But definitely, if you haven't played this one yet, check it out. If you've never played the game, you are missing out. See you next time. Bye-bye.